If you are watching this right now, pause for a moment and hit the subscribe button because what you are about to hear is not just another celebrity story, it's a heartbreaking revelation that unveils the silent pain behind Bai Lu's mysterious disappearance. This is a story that will leave you breathless, questioning what you thought you knew, and feeling every quiet tear she never let the world see. The whispers began like passing winds, gentle and harmless, until they grew into a storm that no one could ignore. For weeks, fans noticed that Bai Lu had grown distant, her once bright eyes shadowed by something unseen. Interviews were cancelled, brand events postponed, and her usual social media updates suddenly went dark. But behind that silence, there was a truth fighting to stay hidden, a truth about betrayal, heartbreak, and the cost of fame. It started one quiet evening when Bai Lu received a message she never expected. It wasn't from a reporter or a fan, but from someone she thought she could trust. The message contained photos, taken discreetly, of her husband with another woman. At first, she refused to believe it. Her hands trembled, her heart raced, and for a moment, the world seemed to blur around her. She stared at those images in disbelief, thinking it had to be a misunderstanding. But deep down, something inside her already knew. In the following days, she continued to smile in public, pretending nothing was wrong. The cameras flashed, the interviews went on, and every laugh she gave felt like glass shattering in her chest. When she went home, the silence of the house was unbearable. Her husband tried to explain, offering reasons, excuses, anything to soften the truth, but nothing could undo what she had seen. Behind the scenes, Bai Lu's closest friends noticed the change. She began spending long hours alone on set, often staring into the distance between takes. Her co-star once said she looked like she was trying to remember how to breathe. One night, she sat by her dressing mirror, wiping away her makeup, when tears quietly began to fall. No one saw that moment except the reflection staring back at her, the reflection of a woman trying to stay strong while her world crumbled. The media began to speculate about her sudden silence, but she remained quiet. Not out of weakness, but out of grace. She didn't want revenge, she didn't want drama, she simply wanted peace. Her fans begged her to speak, to tell her side of the story, but Bai Lu's strength was in her silence. She understood that sometimes, walking away is louder than any explanation. Then came the night of her final appearance before her break. She arrived at the event wearing a white dress, elegant and composed. Cameras flashed, fans screamed her name, but her eyes told a different story. When asked about her husband, she smiled faintly and said, "Some stories are meant to end quietly." That single sentence became the headline that broke the internet. It was subtle, yet powerful, a quiet acknowledgement of the truth she had been carrying all along. After that night, Bai Lu vanished from the public eye. Her team released a short statement saying she needed time for herself, but those who knew her understood the real reason. She had chosen to step away, not because she was defeated, but because she needed to heal. Sources close to her revealed that she spent her time away near the ocean, where the waves drowned out the noise of the world. She would walk barefoot on the shore, letting the cold wind brush against her face, trying to remember who she was before the heartbreak. Those who saw her described her as calm, almost at peace, as if she had found strength in her solitude. Meanwhile, the truth about her husband's affair slowly surfaced. Messages leaked, stories spread, and fans reacted in disbelief. The woman involved was someone from their inner circle, someone Bai Lu had once trusted. The betrayal was deep, not just from her husband but from a friendship that had once meant everything. When Bai Lu finally addressed it, she did not name anyone, nor did she accuse. She simply wrote, "Silence does not mean weakness. Sometimes it is the only language left when the heart has spoken too much." That message, simple yet profound, became one of the most shared quotes online, resonating with millions who had felt the sting of quiet heartbreak. But perhaps the most touching part of this story came later. Months after her silent exit, Bai Lu returned to set for a new drama. Her co-workers said she was different, softer, wiser, and more radiant than ever. One producer recalled seeing her smile genuinely again during a rehearsal, saying, "It was like watching someone find the light after being lost in the dark." Bai Lu turned her pain into purpose. Her performances carried a new depth, a raw emotion that came from experience. Every scene she filmed seemed to hold a piece of her story, and audiences felt it deeply. Fans began calling her the woman who survived silence, a title that perfectly described her journey. Her story is not just about betrayal, but about rebirth. It's about how a woman who was broken by love learned to rebuild herself piece by piece. It's a reminder that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to walk away without a word and let your silence speak louder than any confession ever could. So before you scroll away, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because Bai Lu's journey is far from over. What happens next will surprise everyone, and in part 2, we uncover what really happened during her time away, and who stood by her side when everyone else walked away. Stay tuned. The silence is about to break. The city lights had changed since she left. The air no longer carried the same warmth that once wrapped around her whenever she smiled for the cameras. Months had passed since Bai Lu's silent exit, and in those months, the world kept wondering where she had gone, and what had truly broken her. When she finally reappeared, it was not in a glamorous photo shoot or a red carpet event. It was quiet, almost hidden. A late-night interview that began as a rumor, then a whisper, until it became a viral storm across every platform. She sat alone, wearing a simple beige dress, her hair flowing freely without the perfection of stylists or makeup artists. There was something raw, something painfully real in her eyes. The interviewer asked softly if she was ready to talk. She took a deep breath, then nodded slowly. Her voice trembled, not because of fear, but because of everything she had kept buried. She spoke about love, not in the way fans expected, but in the way that only someone who had lost it could understand. I stayed, she said, because I believed silence could fix what was already broken. But silence only made me invisible. The studio fell silent. Even the lights seemed to dim a little, as if listening. She revealed how the affair had begun long before the rumors ever surfaced. How she had seen signs but chose to ignore them, hoping her loyalty would be enough to change things. She laughed softly when she said she was naive, not out of bitterness, but out of acceptance. Then she said something that caught everyone off guard. She had met the woman who had been with her husband. Not to fight, not to accuse, but to understand. I wanted to see what I was missing, she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But all I saw was two people searching for something they already lost. It was in that moment that fans began to realize this was not just a confession, it was a healing. Bai Lu was not trying to expose anyone anymore. She was trying to let go. The interviewer asked what made her leave. She smiled faintly, and for a moment, the strong actress everyone adored vanished, leaving behind only a woman who had learned the cost of love. I walked away when I realized staying would mean losing myself, she said. And I think I had already lost too much. The screen cut to a short pause, showing clips of her past work, her laughter behind the scenes, her effortless charm that made millions fall in love with her. But when the feed returned, her eyes were wet, a tear sliding down her cheek. I am not broken, she whispered. I am just finally quiet. After that night, the internet exploded. Fans across the world sent messages of support, trending hashtags filled with love and apology. People admired her strength, her calm, her ability to face everything with grace. Some even said her silence was more powerful than any speech she could have given. But few knew that Bai Lu was still healing, piece by piece. She began spending her days away from the cameras, focusing on painting, reading, and spending time near the sea. Her closest friend once revealed that she would sit by the shore every morning, watching the waves, writing in a small notebook. The entries were never shared publicly, but one leaked line from that notebook soon went viral. It was not the betrayal that broke me, she wrote, it was realizing that I had loved someone who forgot how to look at me. Her story became more than a scandal. It became a movement. People began to talk about self-worth, about choosing peace over pain, about the courage to walk away even when the heart wants to stay. Then, months later, Bai Lu made her quiet return to the screen. It was a drama unlike any she had ever done before, not a romantic fantasy, but a story of rediscovery, about a woman who learns to love herself again after losing everything. The first teaser broke records. Fans cried watching it, not because of the plot, but because every scene carried a piece of her truth. The emotions were too real, too raw. It was as if she was not acting, but reliving her story in front of millions. In one particular scene, her character looked at a man who betrayed her and said, "You did not take away my love, you just taught me where not to give it again." That line alone made headlines across platforms. Viewers called it the most powerful moment of her career. By the time the drama premiered, Bai Lu had reclaimed more than her fame. She had reclaimed her narrative. Her fans no longer saw her as a victim, but as a survivor, a woman who rose from her silence and turned it into strength. And when asked if she would ever speak about her ex again, she smiled and replied softly, "Some things are better left unwritten. I think my silence already said enough." The audience fell quiet, many of them crying as the interview ended. And just before she left the stage, she turned back and said one final thing that would echo across fan pages for years. "To everyone who has ever been broken, I hope you find peace in knowing that silence can also be healing." The crowd stood. Applause filled the air. Cameras flashed, but this time, the light didn't feel intrusive. It felt like hope. Her story was not just about loss. It was about rediscovery, forgiveness, and courage. The end of her silence became the beginning of something greater. If you followed Bai Lu's journey from the start, remember to subscribe and stay connected, because this is not the end of her story. It's the rebirth of her voice.